When I think of worship, obviously I think that one of the key figures that we're drawn towards is David, because he was a man after God's own heart. We know that he was a minstrel. We know that he was a worshiper by his very nature. But I kind of want us to look at it from this particular perspective. You know, David as a young man was called to the courtroom of Saul. His gift made room for itself. There was something about his worship that Saul found soothing. The Bible said that it would actually drive away the evil spirits. That when David would come into the courtroom of Saul and begin to play, that the Spirit of the Lord would come down and begin to inhabit that room, because we know that he inhabits the praises of his people, that David would create an atmosphere for God to come in and Saul would find peace. In fact, David was so much of a worshiper that when Saul becomes so jealous of David, and pay particularly close attention to this because this is a very powerful point. Saul is so jealous of David, he hates him, he wants to kill him, his heart is filled with envy and murder. And David flees out into the wilderness. Watch this though. Saul goes chasing after David. And where does he look? He says David must be among the worshipers. And on the outskirts of the city, in the edge of the wilderness, there were the sons of the prophets who would gather together, a couple hundred of them, and they would sing praises and they would prophesy, and the Spirit of God would move mightily among them. Now, think about this. When Saul runs out to the school of the prophets, he's looking for David. He says, David's a worshiper. He must be among the worshipers. And so he runs into the middle of this prophetic group of people that are praising God. But remember, God inhabits the praises of his people. That God comes, he is enthroned upon, he dwells in the praises, the worship of his people. When Saul runs into the middle of this group of worshipers, the atmosphere that they have created is so powerful and the presence of God is so thick that when Saul runs in, his body goes in, but the demons and devils cannot, because they are not allowed in the glory of God. They are not allowed into the realm of heaven. And what worship does is it brings heaven down to earth, and the devils are not allowed to stay in that atmosphere. That's why I want you to know that whether you're at church or in your home or wherever you are, that when we worship, we create an atmosphere that Satan cannot stay in. We literally create heaven on earth. That's why sickness and disease and addiction, these things cannot stay in our church services. That's why people come in and they're healed and they're set free and they're delivered, because we are creating in our services an atmosphere of worship that God comes down into. We are anointing the atmosphere for God to move. So I want you to think this week, as we begin in this month of worship, I want you to think about worship as us creating an atmosphere for God to dwell in. God bless you. Have a great day.